I lit up like 7 matches just now. So bullshit. My lighter is out.
Damn. That's what. Did you just get that blue lighter?
Mm-hmm.
Cause I got my yellow lighter. That's what I was like.
Jay gave me a dead lighter.
Listen, IT teams don't have to start from square one. Need a work order process?
Y'all made flapjack.
Tonight on ABC News Live Prime, the birthday book in the case of Jeffrey Epstein released.
This morning?
The House Oversight Committee obtains Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book. House Democrats post an image of a birthday message that President Trump allegedly sent to Jeffrey Epstein for his 50th birthday in 2003. The president denies sending the letter, calling it fake.
I'm Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill, where some Republicans are now joining with Democrats to dial up the pressure to release all the government's Epstein files.
Deadly terror attack at a packed Jerusalem bus stop. 2 gunmen opening fire, killing at least 6. Our Ian Panel is in Israel with the latest. Chilling video here in the U.S. shows just moments before a Ukrainian refugee was killed on her way home from work in Charlotte, North Carolina in an unprovoked attack. What police are saying tonight about the tragedy. Jury selection gets underway for the suspect in the attempted assassination of President Trump, allegedly targeting him during the campaign while he golfed near Mar-a-Lago. Meanwhile, the president takes aim today in Chicago, threatening to send the National Guard into the Windy City.
We'd love to go into Chicago and straighten that.
Pope Leo officiates the first millennial saint, nicknamed God's influencer and the patron saint of the internet. Our Inez de la Cotara talks to his mother about her son, believed to be capable of miracles. And are you ready to pay a lot for some football? The NFL season is underway and more channels than ever are needed to watch your favorite team. We'll tell you how much it'll cost not to miss a single play.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime. Let's get this.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. We begin tonight with the fight to release all of the Jeffrey Epstein files and this explosive move by the Democrats today, who released an image on X saying, here it is, Trump's birthday note to Jeffrey Epstein that the president said doesn't exist, which depicts the outline of a woman's body. The sexually suggestive note was allegedly written and signed by the president to Epstein on his 50th birthday. Tonight, the White House denies it's the president's signature. He's suing the Wall Street Journal for defamation for first reporting about it. It was all part of the first set of documents obtained by the House Oversight Committee that issued a subpoena late last month to the Epstein estate. Coming up, we'll break down that lawsuit. But first, let's get to ABC's Jay O'Brien, who leads us off on Capitol Hill tonight. Hi, Jay.
Yeah, Lindsay, we've covered that political clash about the release of the FBI's Epstein files, but this, as you say, was a subpoena to the Epstein estate from the Republican-led House Oversight Committee. And this, Democrats on that panel say, is what's inside that cache of documents.
Tonight, under subpoena, the estate of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein delivering to the Republican-led House Oversight Committee the so-called birthday book, a collection of messages given to Epstein for his 50th birthday, including this one, allegedly from President Trump. Democrats on the committee posting the letter online. A crudely drawn outline of a woman's body around lines, including, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? And at the bottom, this. A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. The typed signature Donald J. Trump, and underneath, handwritten in thick marker, Donald. News of the letter's existence was first reported back in July by the Wall Street Journal. At the time, Trump called it fake.
I don't even know what they're talking about. Now, somebody could have written a letter and used my name.
Then saying this.
I'm not a drawing person. I don't do drawings of women. That I can tell you. They say there's a drawing of a woman. And I don't do drawings of women.
The president quickly filing a $10 billion defamation lawsuit against the Journal and its conservative owner, Rupert Murdoch. Tonight, the White House doubling down. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt writing, President Trump did not draw this picture and he did not sign it, saying Trump's lawyers will continue to aggressively pursue litigation. Trump and Epstein were friends for more than a decade in the 1990s. The birthday book was given to Epstein in 2003, 3 years before he was first arrested for sex crimes. The messages were compiled by Epstein's accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, currently serving 20 years for sex trafficking. She described the book in her recent interview with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche.
I coordinated the putting together of the book, and in some instances I called people, asked them to
Everyone with Blanche, who used to be the president's personal lawyer, asking Maxwell if Trump had contributed a message to the book. She told him she didn't remember.
Hey guys, it's Dylan. If you're like me and you like getting paid to give your opinion, then go to b4thread.com. Sign up.
Didn't remember.
And Jay joins us now, still on Capitol Hill. Jay, I know today we heard from an attorney who's representing dozens of Epstein victims. What did he have to say?
Yeah, Lindsay, tonight that attorney, Brad Edwards, blasting what he calls President Trump's hypocrisy. He says that has frustrated many of the victims. He is calling on President Trump to withdraw his lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal and to publicly apologize.
All right, Jay O'Brien for us on Capitol Hill. Thanks so much, Jay. Let's bring in ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer for more. Brian, how did this birthday book and Trump's note to Epstein escape scrutiny for so long?
So, it could be a number of things. First, let's assume that this is an authentic note. I'll make the argument it's not in a minute. But if this is authentic, it's a matter of a lack of due diligence and looking and finding for it. Or, as a matter of fact, it could just simply be that it was kept from the public or kept from people. Now, looking at it as an argument that this could not be authentic, there are arguments that Donald J. Trump, the president, is currently making, that either one, this was made and was not signed by him, it could be a falsified document. And so in terms of why it took so long, it really is just speculative in terms of, did someone do their job correctly, not quick enough, or is this a false document?
And Brian, we know that in July, the president filed a $10 billion defamation suit against the Wall Street Journal for reporting on the existence of this alleged message from Trump to Epstein. What happens to the lawsuit now?
Yeah, so this really strengthens the Wall Street Journal's case. So a large part of the argument that the president made was that no document was ever shown to authenticate the claims that were made. I would imagine that the Wall Street Journal and their attorneys are going to use this to try to bolster their argument. But as we're going now, there's still a motion to dismiss the allegations that the judge will still have to consider. And we saw a few weeks or a month or so ago that they actually tried to expedite the deposition process for Rupert Murdoch because of his age and his ailment. They decided to postpone that expedited process so long as Mr. Murdoch provides his health updates going forward. But we'll see whether or not this motion gets dismissed. I'm imagining that it's going to be a lot harder to do so with this new development, and then we might move towards depositions and possibly a trial that's not settled.
And what further work does the House Oversight Committee investigating the Epstein case have ahead? Who else do they want to speak to?
Yeah, in terms of who else they want to speak to, I think they've already spoken to Ghislaine Maxwell and gotten their response, especially when it comes to this birthday book that she did not know whether or not the president had contributed to it. But I think speaking to potentially a lot of those survivors who came to the Hill some days or weeks ago and tried to get their statements, try to see if there's any corroboration in terms of the allegations that are coming out as they go through this cachet. A lot of it is about getting the evidence and then getting corroboration to try to strengthen claims and see what is fact or fiction.
And Brian, House Speaker Mike Johnson said that committee staff members are hoping to view Epstein visitor logs this week. What could those logs tell them?
So the logs are meant to know who comes in and comes out. I can tell you, as someone who goes into the Metropolitan Detention Center, a federal jail here in New York City, I have to write down my name when I enter in and write down my name when I exit and document who I'm going to see as well. And those logs, especially for Epstein, should not only show who's going in, but it also should correlate to the video surveillance of who's coming in and out. And that might give a greater insight as to who has spoken to him before and after he is no longer with us, and also in terms of who might have influenced the ultimate outcome of Epstein's death.
ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer, thank you so much for your time and insight as always. Overseas now to Jerusalem, where 2 Palestinian gunmen stormed a bus stop during the morning rush hour, killing several people and sending terrified passengers running for cover. Here's ABC's chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell with the story.
This was the moment Palestinian gunmen opened fire on commuters waiting at a bus stop in Jerusalem today. A dashcam video capturing terrified passengers fleeing for cover. 2 gunmen targeting passengers before boarding a packed bus, opening fire, killing 6 and wounding more than a dozen. An off-duty soldier and other bystanders stepping in, returning shots and killing the 2 attackers. This was one of the worst incidents in Israel since October 7th, 2023. This is where the attack happened this morning. You can clearly see the 4 bullet holes. This is actually the bus behind, with tens and tens of people running for cover. At the moment, the Israeli emergency services are clearing up the scene and trying to establish exactly what happened. Tonight, Israeli troops are looking down parts of the West Bank where the attackers came from, without claiming responsibility. Hamas praising today's attacks as the IDF escalates its aerial assault on Gaza City. Dramatic video showing some of the 50 high-rises being leveled in the last 2 days in what Israel says is the pursuit of Hamas. Thousands of civilians have been ordered to evacuate their homes, with more than 150 killed over the weekend, according to the Hamas-run health ministry.
Ian Pannell joins us now from Israel. Ian, given the latest violence, is the White House still hopeful that peace can be achieved?
I think that's a question many people are asking, Lindsay. Remember, President Trump's statements happened before this latest shooting incident, but of course they happened in the context of the increasing violence, not just in Gaza, but also in the West Bank. I think the reality is this, that the US seems to have persuaded Israel to agree with what it calls a proposal that envisages the release of all hostages.
Stabbing the victim to death in an unprovoked attack. Other passengers were unable to save her. Here's ABC's Stephanie Ramos.
Tonight, growing outrage after a gruesome random attack on a commuter train in Charlotte. The newly released surveillance video begins like an ordinary night. Irina Zarutska getting on the train, still wearing the hat and t-shirt from the restaurant where she just finished her shift. Seated behind her, in the red sweatshirt, is DeCarlos Brown Jr. About 4.5 minutes later, Brown rises from his seat, and unprovoked, the video shows him stab her multiple times. Brown walking through the car with blood dripping behind him as a crowd of people rushed to tend to Zarutska, who was declared dead at the scene. Officers arresting Brown as he stepped off the train. 23-year-old Irina Zarutska was born in Kyiv. She fled the war in Ukraine with her family in 2022, who write in her obituary that she was a gifted and passionate artist and loved animals. DeCarlos Brown is a repeat offender with a violent history, including armed robbery, with a misdemeanor case pending at the time of the attack. He's now facing first-degree murder. The incident drawing national attention and outrage from President Trump, who spoke against cashless bail.
Cashless bail started a wave in our country where a killer kills somebody and is out on the street by the afternoon. In many cases, going out and killing again.
Lindsay, the suspect also has a history of mental health issues. A judge has ordered he be evaluated at a hospital. The suspect is due in court later this month. Lindsay.
Stephanie, thank you. An alleged school shooting plot was thwarted in Washington State. A 13-year-old boy is under arrest, and police say they found an arsenal of weapons in his home. ABC's Trevor Alt has that story.
Tonight, police in Washington say this is the arsenal of weapons found in the home of a 13-year-old boy who they believe was planning a school massacre.
This was something major that was going to happen.
The young suspect appearing in court today pleading not guilty to multiple felonies. In charging documents, prosecutors say the teen had written multiple threats on social media, sharing photographs holding semi-automatic rifles dressed in the attire of past school shooters. One post saying in part, "My time is almost here. I hope I kill you all.
It was very obvious. It was a matter of time before people were going to be hurt.
Authorities claim in his room they found a gas mask and a backpack full of ammunition, including several AR-style magazines which had writing on them referencing mass shootings. Lindsay, police tell us they seized nearly 24 weapons from the suspect's home, and they said many of them had been 3D printed, meaning they were untraceable. Lindsay?
Trevor, thank you. Next tonight, President Trump continues to take aim at Chicago, threatening to send the National Guard to the city following another weekend of gun violence. At least 6 people were killed and 18 others wounded. The president also ignited outrage over the weekend, putting out on social media an ominous image about his immigration crackdown. It comes amid a major Supreme Court victory for the administration. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas to explain further. Hi, Pierre.
Lizzie, the city of Chicago is bracing for an immigration enforcement surge after the president posted on social media over the weekend that the city was, quote, about to find out why it's called the Department of War. He later downplayed the post, and there's still no word on when the National Guard might be deployed in Chicago. But today, Homeland Security officials announced that Operation Midway Bliss has been launched, which they say will target the worst foreign nationals accused of crimes. And today, the administration, as you say, got more leeway for aggressive enforcement after the Supreme Court lifted restrictions on ICE agents operating in California, whose tactics had been criticized as racial profiling, Lindsay.
Pierre Thomas for us. Thanks so much, Pierre. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts ruled today that President Trump could move forward with firing Democratic Federal Trade Commissioner Rebecca Slaughter, at least until the rest of the court could weigh in. Slaughter was one of 2 Democratic commissioners fired by Trump on the commission that oversees regulation of social media, deceptive advertising, and unethical business practices. Slaughter spoke with our Kira Phillips earlier today.
How can we have any confidence that the government will, with any kind of integrity, tackle these issues in a meaningful way to protect the American people and not the president's best corporate buddies? That's a real concern. And then the other thing that I'd say is, I think there are a lot of folks who are investors in the markets who are focused on, high stock market prices. But when there's a crash, and we've seen this before, there will be a crash, people are going to wake up.
Trying to assassinate Donald Trump on the golf course, Ryan Ruth arriving at a Florida courthouse where he's representing himself.
Keep walking!
The last time we saw Ruth, he was shirtless and in handcuffs after prosecutors say he fled this sniper's nest in the bushes at Trump International in West Palm Beach. Secret Service agents said they fired at Ruth after spotting the barrel of an assault-style rifle jutting through the shrubs about 400 yards away from Trump. It was just weeks after Trump survived the attempt on his life in Pennsylvania.
Now we gotta go help people customize and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Maybe where's the golf cart?
Today in court, Ruth tried asking prospective jurors about Trump's policies on Greenland and Israel, even what they would do if they saw a turtle in the road while driving, saying it spoke to their character. But Judge Eileen Cannon having none of it. She has said she wants to prevent the trial from devolving into calculated chaos. Ruth has pleaded not guilty to 5 felony counts that could put him in prison for life. Lindsay?
Thank you. Thousands of Americans from Washington State to Idaho are under air quality alerts tonight. 2 large wildfires are burning in California. Tens of thousands of acres have already been lost. And we're tracking a Category 1 hurricane nearing Hawaii this week. Let's get right to ABC's chief meteorologist, Ginger Z. Hi, Ginger.
Hey, Lindsay. So dense smoke advisories are in place around Fresno County, California, Mammoth Lakes included, because the air quality is so bad thanks to the Garnet Fire. More than 53,000 acres burned. You can see the smoke there that will burn for the next couple of days in the same direction with those southwest winds until Thursday morning when things will shift. So that one, they've got about 14% contained, but there are plenty of other fires burning up in Washington over to Montana. Here's the good news. There is a front that's going to come through and bring some rain, especially to coastal Oregon. It's not a ton, but even if you add humidity to the air, that's going to help the firefight and start to moisten up some of those fuels on the ground. Let's talk about the frost advisories. They're the first of the season from parts of Maine to New Hampshire, right over to Saranac Lake, Bradford, Pennsylvania. All will wake up tomorrow morning in the 30s. And you mentioned Hurricane Kiko. We've been watching that. It will keep weakening as it heads north of the Hawaiian Islands. That's the good news. And if you don't get in a boat and go out into the swells, I think you'll be all right. But what you might see, and this is interesting, is a shift in the trade winds because of the storm passing to the north, and that could make some of the regular rain a little heavier. So just something to note for the Hawaiian Islands, Lindsay.
All right, Ginger Z for us. Thanks so much, Ginger. A federal appeals court upheld a ruling that says President Trump must pay former magazine columnist E. Jean Carroll $83 million after a jury found he defamed her in 2019. The president was ordered to pay Carroll $83 million last year after he denied sexually abusing her in a Manhattan dressing room in the 1990s, an attack for which he was separately found liable for sexual abuse. The appeals court rejected the president's argument that a Supreme Court decision last year on presidential immunity for official acts could also extend to this case. A major snub for actor Tom Hanks. A West Point alumni group is now canceling an awards ceremony in his honor. Hanks is the star, of course, of Saving Private Ryan and a well-known advocate for American veterans. Meanwhile, President Trump is praising the decision. Here's ABC's chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman.
Tonight, in a major snub, the West Point alumni group canceling an awards ceremony honoring Oscar-winning actor and well-known veterans advocate Tom Hanks. Hanks set to receive the Sylvanus Thayer Award, recognizing American citizens who live by the school's motto, duty, honor, country. The actor famously portrayed the bravery of American soldiers for decades. From Forrest Gump, I told you to leave me there, Gump! To the World War II epic, Saving Private Ryan. Hanks also co-producing the acclaimed miniseries Band of Brothers, and going to Normandy last year to pay his respects on the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Tonight, the West Point Association of Graduates telling the Washington Post the decision to cancel the ceremony allows it to focus on its core mission of preparing cadets to lead, fight, and win. But Hanks has been a critic of President Trump, whose administration ordered West Point to throw out books on topics including diversity and racism, and to disband cultural and professional student clubs. Tonight, President Trump praising the move on social media, saying West Point smartly canceled the ceremony, adding, "We don't need destructive, woke recipients getting our cherished American awards." And Lindsay, it's still unclear whether Tom Hanks might receive that award just without the ceremony, and we have reached out to West Point, that alumni association, and Tom Hanks, but have not heard back. Lindsay.
Matt, thank you. Tonight we're reporting on two separate scares for airline passengers. First, harrowing images show a jet overshooting a runway in Boca Raton, Florida. We'll tell you about the system on the runway that helped stop that plane. And frightening moments for passengers flying to the Caribbean. The jet here appears to lose its right landing gear the moment it hits the runway. Passengers manage to escape down emergency slides. Victor Kendo reports now from Florida.
Lawrence Brothers was started back in 1974 by my grandfather, James.
Florida.
Tonight, harrowing new video of a small jet overshooting a runway as it landed in Boca Raton, Florida, less than a mile from a busy road.
I do have crash vehicles inbound.
The FAA saying the aircraft arriving from Las Vegas was stopped by a specially designed bed of lightweight, crushable material intended to slow down aircraft. The plane carrying 4 people last week. No serious injuries reported. And tonight, this dramatic hard landing seen on live stream video. The right landing gear appearing to collapse as a WestJet plane touches down on the Caribbean island of St. Martin. Video circulating online appearing to capture the frightened screams inside the cabin on Sunday. The 164 passengers and crew on board from Toronto evacuating down emergency slides at the Princess Juliana International Airport. Authorities say no injuries were reported, but 3 people were taken for medical evaluation out of an abundance of caution. Lindsay, as for that safety system in Boca Raton, there are at least 70 airports across the U.S. that use them. It stopped a plane in Chicago with 2 people on board last week. No serious injuries reported. Lindsay?
Glad to hear that, Victor. Thank you. Video shows the dramatic rescue of a YouTube survival show contestant lost in the forest for nearly 18 hours. Michigan authorities found the 36-year-old California woman after she went missing in a cold, rainy Michigan forest after leaving to search for water on Friday. Michigan police launched a canine and helicopter search in Pigeon River State Forest on Saturday after the contest organizers called 911 12 hours after she went missing. Authorities located her hours later. The woman frantically waved her arms at the rescue chopper. And coming up, a teen influencer becomes the very first millennial saint for the Catholic Church. But who is the 15-year-old boy canonized by the Pope? ABC traveled to Italy to talk to the boy's mother.
Did you always know there was something special about Carlo?
Since he was small, we were quite aware about his sainthood because he was so generous, obedient, and was so nice, so pious.
Plus, Prince Harry back in England, stirring up buzz over possibly smoothing things over with his father amid the king's cancer battle. And a brazen smash and grab caught on tape the swarm of masked suspects that caused the store owner to have a stroke. Yesterday, the Vatican, we watched Pope Leo officiate the centuries-old tradition of canonizing saints, including Carlo Acutis, who became the first millennial saint, nicknamed God's influencer and the patron saint of the internet. Acutis was born in 1991 and died at just 15 years old. Believers and the church determined in recent years that he was capable of miracles, specifically healing the sick. Our Inez de la Quadrada traveled to Italy to interview his mother and has this story.
Many mothers think of their sons as saints, but Antonia Salzano, in particular, has good reason to. Did you always know there was something special about Carlo?
Since he was small, we were quite aware about his sainthood because he was so generous, obedient, and was so nice, so pious.
These are the images of saints we're used to seeing, but this is Carlo Acutis, the first millennial saint, and the first saint depicted wearing jeans and sneakers.
Carlo was a normal child, but who lived an ordinary life, but both the extraordinary in his life, because he was very mystic person.
On Sunday, more than 70,000 people packed St. Peter's Square as Pope Leo presided over his canonization, together with that of Pier Giorgio Frassati, who died in 1925, an enormous picture of Carlo hanging over the square. The book describing Carlo as a teenager from our own day, both in love with Jesus and ready to give everything for him. Born in 1991, Carlo created a website documenting what are known as Eucharistic miracles, paranormal phenomena in which believers say Christ's presence manifests itself in the bread and wine used during communion. For example, one case from Mexico in 2006 alleges a red stain appeared on a host or sacramental bread used during communion. Scientists are said to have concluded it was human blood and live heart tissue.
Carlo used the light side of internet. He understood that within internet is a resource, can be very good means. There are many signs that God sends us, and very often there is an ignorance over these things. And so Carlo wanted to be an apostle of this, to try to help people.
In 2006, Carlo was diagnosed with leukemia, his condition quickly deteriorating within a year, and he died at just 15 years old.
Sono destinata a morire.
A home video shows Carlo saying, prophetically, "It is my destiny to die." But Antonia says his short life and legacy live on after his death, and so began the rigorous saint-making process. From the church's point of view, a candidate must have led a life of heroic virtue and produced at least 2 miracles, events that are scientifically inexplicable. The Vatican even has a department devoted to investigating the alleged miracles, the Dicastery for the Causes of Saints. Carlo's alleged miracles occurred posthumously. In 2013 in Brazil, according to the Vatican, a young boy with a defective pancreas prayed to Carlo for his intercession.
boy's pancreas later fully healed. This first supposed miracle led the Vatican to declare Carlo was blessed. Then, a young Costa Rican woman in 2022 fell into a coma after a bike accident. As the story goes, her mother went to pray before Carlo's tomb, and the girl woke up later that day, eventually making a full recovery. With this second alleged miracle, Carlo was officially recognized as a saint. His mother says she's heard of many more miracles attributed to Carlo.
What's it like for you as a mother to have a son like this?
Definitely, I don't have any merit because I am a sinner like everybody, but I am happy to see how through Carlo so many people is helped.
How are you feeling today?
Feeling good.
Are you still spending thousands on mailers, PPC, and SMS, hoping for a home seller to respond? Stop. You're doing it the hard way. iSpeedToLead.com gives you a shortcut. Inbound leads from real homeowners who already
helped.
As word spread, Carlo's following grew. There are over 10,000 saints officially recognized by the Catholic Church, ranging from St. Francis to Mother Teresa. Saints have traditionally been held up as examples for believers, Carlo on Sunday becoming a fresh young face for a church still reeling from decades of sexual abuse allegations.
The scandal in the church have broken the trust of a lot of young people in that church. And the fact that this young man here is being canonized is a sign of hope.
Why do you think he's someone that so many resonate with? Why do people want to be here for his canonization?
Carlo gives us hope. Carlo gives us hope that holiness is possible. We've entered a new era called the cyber era. We're on the era of internet. We're spending more time than ever on our phones, on our computers, and it questions us because we look at all those saints in our churches and we see saints of the Middle Ages, we see saints of the past, and what about the saints of today?
As part of the sainthood process, Carlo's body was exhumed from its grave in 2019, a way for the church to verify his remains and prepare them for veneration. He was then laid here, at this shrine in Assisi, where he appears to be sleeping, a silicone mask in his likeness covering his face. Officials predict close to 2 million people this year will visit the shrine. Some praying before Carlo's body parts, like his heart, kept inside this golden reliquary.
There's a kind of Carlo mania that's taken a hold of the city of Assisi. So you can see they've got Carlo t-shirts. Over here there are Carlo keychains, Carlo rosaries, Carlo pens, and it's pretty much like this at every souvenir shop.
Just steps from Carlo's shrine is Carla's store. She says she got to know Carlo as a child and gets emotional recalling how she turned to him during a difficult time.
È un'emozione straordinaria. Ci ha dato veramente la gioia di vivere, la gioia di tornare a fare questo lavoro di cui ero veramente stanca. E invece ogni giorno mi dà la possibilità di incontrare tante persone da tutto il mondo che amano perdutamente Carlo.
She says Carlo gave her hope, and perhaps that's what resonates with so many Catholics.
It's a great example of how young people, teenagers, can get to be saints. It's not something that is of all the times, of something that is only for all people. It's like, I can be a saint.
Even if he lived a short period of his life, he maximized his life. He's God who is doing through Carlo these miracles. For me, Carlo was my savior.
Carlo's memory will live on. Our thanks to Inez for that. Coming up, NFL fans should be ready to shell out the big bucks, not to watch games in person, but to stream them will tally the costs. And staying in the world of sports, the fight heard round the world between Phillies fans tussling for a home run ball. We'll get the lowdown from the family who gamely forked it over. NFL season is now underway, and no longer are you stuck with just whatever game is on TV in your market. Streaming has allowed fans to watch whatever games they want wherever they are, but this has also increased the number of channels and platforms needed to watch every game and has made doing so more expensive. Let's take a look at how to watch the NFL in 2025 by the numbers. There are 272 total regular season NFL games this season. Most will air across 4 channels: CBS, Fox, NBC, and ESPN, with many games on the latter also on ABC. NFL Sunday tickets on YouTube TV will have out-of-market games for at least $276 for the season for new customers. This year, 20 games are scheduled to air exclusively on streaming services. Most will be on Amazon Prime, which hosts Thursday Night Football. The lowest Prime Video plan starts at $9 a month. As for Christmas Day Football, 2 games will only be on Netflix, which starts at $8 a month, and at least 1 late season game is only on NBC's streaming service Peacock, requiring a premium plan starting at $11 a month. All told, 10 different channels and platforms have exclusive games this season. Forbes estimates the average cost for a cord cutter to watch every game is at least $765 without taxes and fees. We should note that these numbers can also vary based on available discounts and bundles, and of course, if you already have any of these platforms.
I was making so much money with DoorDash. I wanted to earn money in my free time, but I didn't want to go out and get a boring 9 to 5. That's when I found out how much money my friend was making with DoorDash. There are opportunities in over 4,000 cities. Signing up?
Platforms. Most NFL teams started their seasons yesterday. For more on Sunday's action and other news from the sports world, we're joined by ESPN reporter Jeff Darlington. Jeff, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, Lindsay, thanks for having me. Great weekend.
Great weekend. We have to talk about that incredible ending last night between the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. A furious comeback for the Bills. Your reaction to that, everything that transpired?
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of people who woke up this morning who turned off the TV early thinking the Bills had no chance of that comeback. But the Bills looked incredible. Honestly, the Ravens looked really good. A really interesting matchup because these 2 teams constantly sort of knocking on the door at the end of the season trying to get into the Super Bowl, always thwarted by the Chiefs. Some people were calling it the Little Brother Bowl because both these teams just can't get over the hump that is the Chiefs. So the question is, great game by the Bills. They did a nice job now, but can they do it at the end of the season when it really matters?
Any other results from yesterday that stood out to you?
I thought some really good storylines. The Steelers and the Jets game, 34-32. The Steelers have quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who played with the Jets last year. This was his debut with Pittsburgh. He played really well after the game. A very salty Aaron Rodgers was asked about whether he felt good about being the head coach who did not want him with the Jets. He said, "I was happy to beat anybody associated with the Jets." So salty Aaron Rodgers there. Packers-Lions, also a very good game, 27-13. The Green Bay Packers looked very good, very believable team. And they have Dallas Cowboys star Micah Parsons, who they just traded for. He was very effective in that game. So I thought the Packers and the Steelers, 2 teams to watch moving forward.
And there's still one more week 1 game ahead of us. The first Monday night football game of the year is between Minnesota Vikings and Chicago Bears. What can we expect tonight?
Yeah, this is a fun one because both teams have quarterbacks that are very intriguing. Second-year guys, J.J. McCarthy, drafted high by the Vikings but never played because of injury last year. So this is kind of his big debut. Very interested to see how he plays on the other side of the ball. Caleb Williams kind of struggled last year. He was the first overall pick, but now he's got a new head coach in Ben Johnson, who's sort of this prodigy offensive mind, and the belief is that maybe he can get Caleb Williams right. So it's very intriguing on offense for this game on both sides of the teams.
Let's turn now to tennis. A big weekend here, the U.S. Open in New York City. Of course, we had Aryna Sabalenka, the U.S. Open singles title winner, as well as Carlos Alcaraz, who won the U.S. Open singles title. But finalists Amanda Anisimova and Jannik Sinner also had notable runs. Are we looking at the next wave of tennis's biggest stars?
Well, we certainly are when it comes to Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. I was over at Wimbledon when those two played. In that final, they had an epic French Open final. This is the new great rivalry. And I was watching the U.S. Open this weekend and seeing Alcaraz just keeping that just trademark smile through all of the pressure. You could see why he is so likable. On the women's side, Sabalenka is so incredibly dominant. And Anisimova, a really fun American story. She was also at the Wimbledon final as well and hasn't been able to actually win the slam in either of those places, but just a great comeback story, very likable. I'd encourage you to read more about her. She's just the type of story that I think American tennis needs and American tennis would love to cheer for.
A fellow New Jersey native there. We'll be looking for a lot more from her. Jeff Darlington, we thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming up, radio legend Howard Stern answers questions about his future with the help of an unexpected guest. We'll tell you who and our conversation with Rainn Wilson and his role as a paramedic in the new film Code 3. About his future with the help of an unexpected guest. We'll tell you who and our conversation with Rainn Wilson and his role as a paramedic in the new film Code 3. A brazen smash and grab robbery caught on video. Prince Harry returns to the UK, fueling speculation about a family reunion, and the father and son speaking out about that heated spat over a home run ball. These stories and more in tonight's rundown. A brazen smash and grab heist caught on surveillance video. This happened at a jewelry store in San Jose, California. Video shows a car backing through the front doors. Moments later, more than a dozen masked robbers swarmed the store, breaking open display cases. A shirtless man, the store owner, was knocked to the ground. He suffered a stroke and was cut by broken glass. According to people who know him, he is expected to be okay. Police say no arrests have been made. Prince Harry is back in the UK for the first time in months. Harry laid a wreath and flowers at the tomb of his late grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, marking the 3rd anniversary of her death. The visit has also sparked speculation about a possible reunion with his father, King Charles. The two haven't seen each other in more than a year and a half, and Harry has said he hopes to mend his relationship amid his father's cancer battle. Howard Stern returned on Monday to his popular show on SiriusXM to address questions about the future of the Howard Stern Show. It started with TV host and producer Andy Cohen announcing that he'd be taking over Stern's channel. But Stern eventually jumped on to clarify Cohen was joking. The 71-year-old Stern has been off the air, raising speculation about a possible departure. He's hosted his show on SiriusXM for almost 2 decades. Dick's Sporting Goods announced the company has completed the acquisition of sneaker retailer Foot Locker. Dick's will now operate more than 3,200 stores across 20 countries while continuing to operate the Foot Locker brand. The $2.4 billion deal was first announced in May. A new mural by the mysterious street artist Banksy has appeared outside of a London courthouse. The mural shows a judge beating an unarmed protester with a gavel. Officials covered the mural in black plastic and say it will be removed. Banksy posted the work on Instagram, his usual way of claiming work is authentic, with the caption, "Royal Courts of Justice, London." The artist, who is known for his politically charged artwork, often targets power imbalances in modern society. Most notably, one of his artworks sold for $25 million in 2021.
BetMGM is here. A jackpot, so many. BetMGM Casino.
Thrown to the ground, and handcuffed simply because of their looks, their accents, and the fact they make a living by doing manual labor. LA's mayor was furious.
This isn't just an attack on the people of Los Angeles. This is an attack on every person in this city and in every city in our country.
There is more to come, though. Yesterday's decision just allows enforcement efforts to continue while the case itself against the administration is decided in the courts. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
Doug, thank you so much. And I do actually want to bring you back to a post that we showed you a bit earlier. It is actually from a meme account. It is not from the actual White House. We want to make sure that that is clear. The White House announced a new program to help American farmers hit hard by tariffs. That is not real. Just wanted to bring that back to you to let you know it looks like it's a White House statement. It is not. 9:49 on the East Coast and 6:49 on the West Coast. Going to head to a quick 2-minute commercial break, but we will be right back with more live coverage in just a few. this is coming in out of California, as we know that there was a news conference held by Kelly Loeffler alongside reality star Spencer Pratt. They were talking about the Palisades fire and what they want the government to do. Let's lift up the audio here and listen in.
This year, in 2025, has put out $4.2 billion in disaster. About 73% of that has come to Los Angeles. So over the 100 disasters we've responded to in this country, 73% of the funding has come to LA. Now, we have approved 12,000 residents to receive rebuilding for their small business, for their homes, for the thousands of homes that were destroyed. Unfortunately, this city has received permitting requests from something like 18,000 residents. They've approved 300 in the county. So what we're seeing are massive delays. The federal government has been there since day one. President Trump's first week in office, as soon as he was sworn into office, he flew out to California to visit the residents here to understand what the response was and needed to be. We delivered federal resources in the billions. Today, 9 months, 8 months later, rebuilding is still not happening. So we've seen bureaucracy, red tape spread faster than this wildfire, and it's strangling the residents from getting back in their homes. And what I've learned is that in this city, the bureaucrats are working from home while residents don't have a home. We've got to get people back to work for these residents that have poured their heart and soul into this community. They paid taxes. If you look at the taxes they paid on the expectation that the government would provide the services that they expected to be there for them in their greatest time of need, and it wasn't there. But yet the federal government response has been strong. So what I want to say is the SBA continues to be here. We had over 150 people here at the peak of the disaster for the last 6 months. We now still have dozens this week. At this time, we have 8 sessions going on to help ensure that mitigation strategies can be going on to mitigate for future responses. But what we need is a government that's planning ahead for the next one while fixing the last one. That's not happening. So, things could be happening like getting the permitting out of the way. Sometimes residents need a dozen or more permits to rebuild. They're still charging for permitting. So there's so much more that can be done. We know that, and we want to just be here to elevate the voices of great patriots like Spencer Pratt, who care about his community. It's not a political issue at all. This is about quality of life and families being able to get back to their normal lives. So thank you, Luke, for the tour. Spencer, thank you for all you're doing. God has given you a big job, and this job's so important. I was at an event this morning, and one of the people at the event came up to me and she said, I heard you're going to be with Spencer Pratt today. And I don't know how she knew who I was, but she was so excited, and I've heard from people across the country, and they are so glad that there is a voice like Spencer fighting for them. So I'm happy to take any questions and share any of the data that we have.
Administrator, the SBA has provided a lot of money to disaster relief. Any word on FEMA money? I know a lot of people have been pressing that. President Trump has threatened to withhold it to California. Is there any word on when that will be delivered to the residents here?
The federal government has held up every single commitment that we've made to the people of California. We've been there at every turn, whether it's FEMA, whether it's the EPA, HUD, SBA. We have delivered at everything we can do and more. I was out here 6 months ago touring Pacific Palisades, Altadena. I met with the LA Chamber. And what we've seen is a city that wants to get back to normal, that wants to host the FIFA World Cup next year, that wants to host the Olympics. But yet, at every turn, state and local government have refused to get out of the way. And I'm afraid that's what happens when you have one-party rule. They will not hold each other accountable. And this governor could be exercising his executive authority to require that this mayor work for the people of LA, the city, and the county, but that's simply not happening. And he's abdicating his executive authority.
I know FEMA's not SBA, but do you know about the FEMA funds and when those might be delivered?
Look, we've worked closely with FEMA. FEMA has been here since day one. We saw great collaboration on the ground. I'm not aware of any funds that are outstanding, and I would just certainly refer you to their team. but I know that they've been on the ground delivering hundreds of millions of dollars of relief, and that is a fact.
Two senators from out of state announced today that they were going to launch a congressional inquiry into the events surrounding Palisades fire. As someone who's visited here multiple times, you're back again today. I'm curious, what is your comment on that as a member of the administration?
Yeah, well, my former colleague, Senator Scott, Senator Johnson, have opened an investigation, which I think is really important to get to the bottom of these fires, of the response, of the preparedness, most of all, because there's another Washington, because this does need further investigation.
All right, that was Kelly Loeffler there. She is with the Small Business Administration holding a news conference with the latest on the Palisades fire. All right, you can see right here that the stage is set up and ready to go for House Republicans. They should be holding their briefing in just a matter of minutes. We're going to make sure to bring that to you here on Live Now from Fox, as we always do. In the meantime, though, I do want to take you out to another big story that we have been covering here over the past several days as we follow the latest on the story out of Charlotte, North Carolina that has captured national attention. City officials facing criticism for failing to keep a man with a history of mental illness, arrests, and erratic behavior off the streets before police say he fatally stabbed a young Ukrainian refugee on a commuter train. Investigators say 23-year-old Irina Zanutska, who fled the war in Ukraine, was killed in a random attack August 22nd that was captured on camera. The suspect, 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown Jr., had served time in prison, been briefly committed for schizophrenia, and was arrested earlier this year after repeatedly calling 911 from a hospital. I want to talk much more about all of this here and what happens next. Let's bring in Nicole Bernecki, a friend of the show. She is a trial attorney. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Hi, Jones. Good morning. Thank you for having me again.
Of course. And first off, I just want to ask you, when you talk about mental illness and things of that nature, when you look at the mental fitness to stand trial, how does all of that work? How does a judge determine if a defendant can stand trial if they're mentally sound?
Well, mental fitness to stand trial is slightly different from the issue of whether the defendant was sane at the time of the act that they committed. So fitness to stand trial basically pertains to the ability to understand what's going on in the courtroom during the trial. So a defendant has to understand what's going on, but he also needs to be able to assist their
Shine there in North Carolina posting, I am heartbroken for the family who lost their loved one to this senseless act of violence, and I'm appalled by the footage of her murder, which you just saw a still image there. We need more cops on the beat to keep people safe. That's why my budget calls for more funding to hire more well-trained police officers. I call upon the legislature to pass my law enforcement recruitment and retention package to address the vacancies in our state and local agencies so they can stop these horrific crimes and hold violent criminals accountable. So how do judges decide whether to release someone before trial when you're talking about setting bond and you have a situation like this? How do they factor in those mental health concerns?
There are multiple factors that have to be taken into account during that analysis. Number one, the defendant's rights have to be weighed against public safety. So the judge needs to look at the seriousness of the crime, needs to analyze whether that defendant is a flight risk, and there's a lot of other circumstances that need to be taken into account. And if there is a finding of a potential mental illness or mental health defense forthcoming, a judge can also order treatment, deny bail. There's a lot of discretion in their hands as to how to handle that.
And as I mentioned, there is this surveillance video that everyone has been commenting on. We're just showing a still image there from Fox News. How does video evidence of the attack factor into the entire legal process? And does it make a difference that the public has already seen this?
the main piece of evidence in this case, and in terms of technicalities, it has to be authenticated. So whoever sourced that video from the transit system will have to come and testify to that, just to explain the origin of the video, and place it in context. But once that's done, the video is admitted into evidence, and then the jury uses it as evidence as to whether the crime was committed or not. I think here is pretty self-explanatory. The only argument that the defense can use here potentially is that this video is prejudicial because of its content can cause the jurors to have strong emotions regarding what happened, but it's not going to be easy to avoid that to begin with, because it's a case that's already highlighted in the media. And every time this issue comes up, and the issue of a potential juror bias, I always say that it's up to the attorneys to conduct the proper voir dire, to make sure that they choose in a panel a jury that can render a judgment on this without any bias.
All right, Nicole, I did want to ask you where the legal process goes from here. This case is obviously just unfolding right now. The details are coming in. We know that there's criticism of officials there. So where does the legal process in the case go from here?
This is dictated by the criminal procedure. He will have to, formal charges will have to be presented against this individual, and then there will be preliminary hearings, exchange of evidence, the determination of which evidence can and cannot be admitted, and then pre-trial hearing and a trial if he is in fact considered fit to stand trial. If not, it may shift to hearings regarding his mental capacity and whether he was sane at the time of the act, and if he was not sane, how his insanity affected his decision-making process in that very moment. So this is just going to be procedurally, however that jurisdiction dictates it, but there may be some differences depending on whether he's considered insane or not.
Nicole Bernecki, thank you so much as always for taking the time to join us and help break it down. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And I do want to take you back out to this image here, again, a still image coming in from Fox News. We are not showing the video.